wisdom,
prudentia,
justice,
justitia,
temperance,
temperantia,
courage.
fortitudo.
Applying ancient philosophy to modern life, this is the Sunday Stoic.
Howdy, guten tag, dobry den. This is the Sunday Stoic podcast coming to you from Conway, Arkansas. And on this podcast, we apply the wisdom of ancient philosophy to enhance our modern lives. We've been working our way through the Stoics in chronological order, though we've skipped around a little bit lately because we learned a little bit about Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius with some guests on the podcast, but we're going to go back to Musonius Rufus this week and talk about him a little bit more, and then we'll work our way to Epictetus and then finally Marcus Aurelius. This week's episode is from a reading about disdaining hardships, and what Musonius is really saying here is you should disdain useless hardships, and when it comes to useful hardships, don't worry about them. Disdain your disdain of those hardships. The Fragments of Musonius Rufus, translated by Cora Lutz. Number 7, that one should disdain hardships. In order to support more easily and more cheerfully those hardships which we may expect to suffer on behalf of virtue and goodness, it is useful to recall what hardships people will endure for unworthy ends. Thus, for example, consider what intemperate lovers undergo for the sake of evil desires, and how much exertion others spend for the sake of making profit, and how much suffering those who are pursuing fame endure, and bear in mind that these people submit to all kinds of toil and hardship voluntarily. And yet, would not anyone admit how much better it is, in place of exerting oneself to win someone else's wife, to exert oneself to discipline one's desires? In the place of enduring hardships for the sake of money, to train oneself to want little. Instead of giving oneself trouble about getting notoriety, to give oneself trouble on how not to thirst for notoriety. Instead of trying to find a way to injure an envied person, to inquire how not to envy anyone. And instead of slaving as sycophants do to win false friends, to undergo suffering in order to possess true friends. And it remains for me to say that the man who is unwilling to exert himself almost always convicts himself as unworthy of good, since we gain every good by toil. Have you ever worked really hard for something that wasn't worth it? You know, I've often, growing up, set my sights on some material object that I thought I really needed and would make me happy, and I'd save up my money and I'd work at this and I'd do that and I'd finally buy it, and of course after that your happiness spikes for about an hour and then you go back to your normal self and it doesn't really change your behaviors. You have this object now you have to maintain that object and worry about that object. We often pursue things at the cost of our own integrity. And Musonius Rufus talks about people pursuing, extramarital affairs or pursuing fame, trying to come up with clever tweets or putting yourself on YouTube over and over again. All these things that take up your time and your creativity, and you could have spent them working on becoming a better person. Sometimes we're unwilling to work hard to be better. We're willing to work hard to look better in the public eye, but are we actually working hard to be better people? I know I'm not one to really be able to give great advice on this, but some things I've done attempting to live up to this sort of advice is I've really unplugged quite a bit from social media. I still have accounts that relate to this podcast, for example, but I don't go on big Stoic message boards that much and plug myself, right? So if you want to share this podcast on those social media platforms so others can learn about it and hear it, by all means, please help me out there, because I don't do it for myself because I don't feel like self-promoting. I'm not good at it. I don't like it. Makes me feel kind of dirty. And so anyway, but that's one of the things I do. And I know that I need to do better. I need to be willing to suffer hardships for the sake of good. And I can even include some external things into that. Like, I should go to the gym more and work out more, go jogging more. You know, for a while I was running 5Ks, which was very out of character for me. I've never been a runner, but I worked my way up to it. Now I'm finding it hard to get to the gym or to run regularly with my 2-year-old. And I'm trying to figure out how to give up things that I might be working at that are useless in order to pursue things that are worthwhile. So think about the things in your life you can scrap that you work for that are really useless. They're not character building. They don't help others. Maybe you're working extra hours so you can have cable TV. Maybe you are spending too much time working on being well regarded on social media. Maybe these are things that you could give up. Think about what those things are in your life. Think about when you are working hard on something worthwhile and you're kind of thinking about quitting. Think about, well, how hard are people willing to work for nonsense? And I'm not willing to work hard to make myself a better person. It's all about arete. Let's all become better together. I'll see you next week on the podcast. Carpe diem.
Thank you for listening to The Sunday Stoic. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and review The Sunday Stoic on iTunes. Become a member of the Sunday Stoic team, earn rewards, and be an integral part of the show by becoming a patron at www.patreon.com/SundayStoic. Contact the show by emailing sundaystoic@gmail.com or by leaving a voicemail at 501-503-3132. To find out more, visit www.sundaystoicpodcast.com. And as Steve always says, Carpe Diem.